How are you guys doing today? It feels good to be back in God's country. Well, I want to thank Jeff Hunt and the Centennial Institute for welcoming me and giving me an excuse to leave the People's Republic of California for at least one day, and to be back in a room of patriots who are just as fired up about America as I am. To introduce myself, my name is CJ Pearson. I work at PragerU, where I'm a personality and host a weekly news show called The Wrap-Up, and I'm fired up about America. I love this country. Regardless of how much the left has sought to tell lie after lie to my generation about what America is, I still love this country. And to tell you a little bit about my story, it starts in the state of Georgia, where I was raised by my grandparents. My grandfather served in the military for 20 plus years. His love of country was always apparent. And even though we disagreed about politics, his influence on my life was always ever present. You know, my political involvement began actually in the second grade due to an incredible teacher named Mrs. Best. She gave us an assignment that every single good American was doing at the time. We were gonna research the candidates, we were gonna watch the debates, and then we were gonna decide for ourselves who we wanted to be the next president of the United States. And I remember going home one day and sitting on my grandmother's bedroom floor and watching this particular debate between then Senator John McCain and then Senator Barack Obama. And this is gonna age me a little bit, which everyone who's 20 years old tries to do. But Candy Crowley was actually moderating that debate. And I had no idea what any of these people were talking about. I was 6 or 7 years old, but I knew that it was important. They were talking about issues that, again, I had no idea what they meant. What's healthcare reform? What's Iran? I had no clue, but I knew that it was important. And I remember after that, going to that election day that was held in that classroom and casting my ballot for John McCain. And I remember coming home that same day and telling my grandparents who I had voted for. And my grandmother looked me in my eye and said, "You must think that you're white." And I had no idea what that meant. I'm a 6, 7-year-old kid. I had no idea what that meant and why she said what she said, but I was eager to find out. And so I remember wanting to just figure out, where did I stand on the issues? Was I a conservative? Was I a progressive? So I started reading everything I could get my hands on. I started watching Fox News. I started watching MSNBC, which I still haven't recovered from. And I just tried to figure out, where did I stand on these pivotal issues that mattered so much to the American people, that mattered so much to the people that were on that debate stage at that time. And the more I learned about conservatism, the more I learned about the values of tradition and the importance of faith and family, I realized that unknowingly, my grandparents had raised a conservative. They had raised a conservative. And so they didn't get the luxury of complaining about the way they made me. You did this. You drugged me to church every Sunday and Bible study on Wednesdays. You taught me the importance and the value of $1. You taught me the importance of faith and family. And you told me that as long as I worked hard and played by the rules in this country, I could do anything, be anything. And that is exactly the reality that I have known. Guys, when I look at all the lies that the left tells about America every single day, that America is an irredeemably racist nation, that America is a sexist nation, that America is a nation where there is no opportunity for everyone to thrive and to grow and to reach heights that they never imagined that they could, I know it to be a lie because of my story myself. And when I look at my upbringing, I was a kid that the left automatically counts on being a statistic, being a victim. My mom had me when she was a high school senior. She was in no position to raise a child. But I made a fundamental choice because of the way in which my grandparents raised me, that I would never be a victim, and I would always choose to be a victor, because I would never make the choice to live on my knees when I could stand on my feet. And it is that type of strength that I think is central to the theme of this year's conference, being Western strong. Because guys, we have to be strong to weather the times in which we are living in today. There is a fundamental war on truth in America today. We're seeing people trying to spread all these lies about America, trying to normalize things that we know have no business being normalized in America. The targeting of our children, open borders, the whole 9 yards. Here's the lesson I like to tell the left. If you have to normalize something, it's not normal to begin with, okay? And they don't seem to get that. They don't seem to get that. But that is the fight that we're in today. And so, as I got involved in the political arena, I was a 12-year-old kid, and I just gotten a camcorder for Christmas. And I had no idea what I was going to do with this camcorder, but one day I made a YouTube video going after Obama a little bit. Now, as you can imagine, my progressive grandparents were not a big fan of that video, and I didn't tell them I uploaded it, actually. But my grandparents loved to hate watch Sean Hannity. And so one day, they were just chilling in the bedroom, and they look up, and Sean Hannity says, 12-year-old goes on rant against Barack Obama. And they look up, and then I hear, CJ, get up here right now. And I come upstairs, and we're going back and forth. CJ, how dare you talk about the first black president like this? You need to delete the video. And I was like, okay, I'll delete the video. Thankfully, my grandparents didn't know how to work YouTube. The video never got deleted. But it was a foreshadowing of what was to come. I didn't have the luxury of not being able to defend my ideals in my household. I had to know what I was talking about, which kind of led me to PragerU. I was watching so many videos, so many 5-minute videos, just so that I would be able to hold my own at the dinner table because my grandparents weren't pulling any punches. And that is when I realized, and I think it was such a formative moment of growth for me because it taught me the error of the left's lies. That their entire generation had been misled into believing that they should allow the color of their skin to dictate their politics. And I've got to say, I refuse then to ever be shackled by that entire mentality. I would never allow that to shackle me. And it was always interesting having these debates and having these discussions because I was like, guys, you know you're conservative, right? Like you literally are conservatives. And they didn't get it at the time. And, we're getting closer every single day. Still working on them. But that was the fire that I took to the college when I went to the University of Alabama. Roll Tide. And when I went to the University of Alabama, I had a great time. It was an incredible experience, but for a little bit, I lost my fire in me. I was just worried about being a college kid and having fun and doing college things. But then I started looking at what was happening in America. And it reminded me of those famous words from Ronald Reagan when he talked about it being a time of choosing. And I think we find ourselves at a similar crossroads today, where we have to decide what type of nation we wish to be. Will we be a nation of opportunity and hope, or a nation of victimhood and lawlessness and despair? Well, every single time, I gotta tell you guys, I am choosing the former. I am choosing the former because America is the greatest nation in the world, but it's not great by accident. It takes people like all of you coming here and showing up and fighting for America, an America that the left has become so dead set at absolutely destroying the fundamental values that made it great in the first place. But my generation has an obligation to join you in this fight because, guys, it's the country that we're going to inherit. And I've got to say, I don't want to inherit the progressive left's America, an America where people do not know what gender is, an America where people go by the pronouns of they, them. That just used to be bad grammar, I might remind you. And I don't want to live in America where people cannot answer the question, what is a woman? No. That's not an America that makes sense. It's not an America that makes sense whatsoever. But oftentimes I get the question about, people ask me, they say, CJ, do you have hope? Do you have hope? And I always say that I wouldn't fight if I didn't have hope. Because I think that that's all we can have these days. And I'll tell you that when I talk to more and more young people these days, they say that they are absolutely just completely done with how radical the left has become. This entire idea that biological men should be playing women's sports, that young white children, and I mean elementary schoolers who are being taught critical race theory, are somehow responsible for slavery when they're like 5 years old. Guys, last time I checked in 2023, no one alive today was a slave, and no one alive today ever owned a slave. So what does that even mean? Guys, we are not just waging a war on the lies of the left, we're waging a war on pure absurdity today. But I've got to say that, guys, I am in this for the long haul because America wasn't great by accident. But America is kept great by people who leave it all on the line, who leave it all on the field, and who realize that America is worth fighting for. And it's the greatest nation in the world. Stories like mine are not possible without a country as great as this. And if we're going to maintain Western strength, we've got to cling to the values that made America strong in the first place. We've got to cling to community. We've got to cling to tradition. We've got to cling to one another. And we've got to cling to God. We've got to cling to God. Because regardless of how hard the left tries to say that we are no longer one nation under God, we will always be one nation under God. And I will never, ever apologize for that. I will never apologize for that. Never. I am sick and tired of the left lying to me, lying to my generation, telling me that because of the color of my skin, I cannot be great. Because of the situations in which I grew up, I cannot succeed, I cannot thrive. That is not the America I know. And so when I think about how we beat the left, I think the answer is actually simple. We just have to tell America the truth. Because if you tell America the truth, people actually don't like being lied to, funny enough. And they have a very visceral reaction when they're exposed to truth. We do it every single day at PragerU. I actually went out recently, and I went out, and I live in LA, so there's no shortage of content potential. I went out in West Hollywood during Pride, and I was asking some questions. I was like, who do you think founded the KKK? Who do you think were some of the biggest proponents behind segregation? Who do you think put my great-great-grandparents in the back of the bus? Oh, they said, the Republicans. I was like, no. But that is the battle that we're fighting today. We're fighting a battle against absolute sheer ignorance, and here is what we need to do. Education got us into this mess, and education will get us out of it. That's exactly the mindset we need to have. And so, guys, I come here today to implore you to not give up on my generation. I know that we're a little rough around the edges sometimes, and there's some of us who like to bark and identify as furries, but I still think we're worth saving. I think that America is worth saving. And I've got to tell you that we cannot allow America to no longer be the shining city on a hill that it was intended to be. We cannot allow the fiery flame that we were destined to be put out by people who want to reimagine and recreate this country in a way that is lesser for itself. When I think about my journey, and now I live in Los Angeles, a place I never thought I would live, and definitely not a place I thought I would move from Tuscaloosa, Alabama to live in. One thing that's been really fruitful about living there is I'm reminded every single day about what the left's vision for America is. It's homelessness. It's a lack of law and order. It's despair. It's poverty. It's depravity. If they can do it in LA, you don't think they want to do it in every other city across America? That's the dry run. But if we are not vigilant, if we don't put up the defenses around this next generation of leaders, we cannot afford to surrender. Because if we lose America's next generation, we will lose this country. And this country is too great to lose. So guys, I enlist you in the fight. And the fight is just beginning. So let's keep fighting every single day, leave it all out on the field, and let's ensure that we not just have a republic today, but we have a republic tomorrow. And as long as we can keep it, America will be free. My generation will have opportunity. And that's the America I've always known. That's the America I've always loved. And that's the America that's Western strong. Thank you, guys. God bless you. Good to see you. Thank you.